They wanted to be seen as legends, but the second you walked away, the floor caved in. Now every move they make looks shaky. Every word they spit sounds hollow. They're exposed, embarrassed, unraveling under a spotlight that shows everything they tried to hide. And the funniest part, you didn't even have to fight. You didn't have to scream, drag, or throw dirt. You just stopped playing. Without your applause, the act collapsed into comedy. They thought you'd crawl back, thought you'd beg, thought you'd keep orbiting their chaos like a planet around a sun. But the truth came out. You were the sun, the light, the heat, the reason the whole system looked alive. Without you, they're cold, they're dim, they're embarrassing themselves, trying to look important while everyone can see the crown they wore was made of plastic. Now they scramble, still acting like the show's alive, but the tent's already burned down. They drag your name through stories, twist the truth, stage little scenes, hoping someone will clap. But it's obvious the act doesn't land. The jokes don't hit. The costumes don't fit. They're not dangerous, not powerful, not legends. They're just clowns performing for shadows. And the silence, that's the laugh track they'll never escape. They're humiliated, not because you broke them, but because you didn't need to. You left them with their own noise. And that noise turned into proof. Proof that they weren't in control. Proof that their power was borrowed. Proof that the whole show only worked because you were in the audience. And now you're gone. Their downfall is the only entertainment left. Every day they try to rebuild the stage, but the boards keep cracking under their feet. They slap on new paint, rehearse new lines, drag new faces into the script. But the silence always wins. Without your reaction, the whole thing looks like improv gone wrong. They trip, they stutter, they sweat through their costumes. And the audience doesn't even boo. They just laugh. Not the kind of laugh they wanted, but the cruel kind. The kind that sticks. The kind that echoes long after the curtains fall. They wanted to convince the world you were the fragile one. But now the world sees who's really fragile. Every attempt to throw shade bounces back. Every rumor exposes desperation. Every performance looks like a blooper reel caught on loop. They're embarrassed because their empire wasn't built on power. It was built on your patience. And when that patience ran out, the walls crumbled. What kills them most is how calm you stayed. No tantrum, no rant, no receipts dropped in the group chat, just silence. And that silence, that's the sharpest blade of all. It cut deeper than any clapback ever could. Now they're left bleeding on stage, smiling through their teeth, pretending they're unbothered, while everyone sees the panic in their eyes. The more they act, the funnier it gets. The harder they try to look strong, the weaker they appear. And that's the twisted masterpiece. You didn't have to destroy them. You just refused to fuel them. You left, and their own performance turned into the weapon. They've become a parody of themselves, a living joke under a spotlight that won't move. Embarrassed, exposed, stuck in a comedy they wrote, but you directed by walking away. You can see it all over them now. That twitch in the smile, the crack in the voice, the way their eyes dart like they're searching for a script that isn't there. They're exposed, and exposure has no mercy. When the masks fall off under the heat of silence, there's no curtain to hide behind, no clever lighting to soften the truth. What you get is raw, trembling embarrassment, and that's what they live in now. Embarrassment stretched out like an endless stage play. They thought you'd stay hooked on their chaos forever, clapping for every tantrum, decoding every fake breakdown, reacting on cue. But the second you stopped, the illusion shattered. Now the tantrums looked like comedy skits. The breakdowns look staged. The chaos looks desperate. They're not feared, not respected. They're pitied. And pity burns worse than hate. Because pity means people see straight through you. Watch how hard they still try, throwing shade like confetti, building rumors out of dust, hoping somebody claps. But the claps don't come. The room stays quiet, and that quiet is cruel. It forces them to keep performing, keep spinning, keep humiliating themselves in front of an audience that already knows the trick.
They're fighting shadows, arguing with silence, trying to look powerful while looking ridiculous.
And the best part, you don't have to move a muscle. Every word they spit, every excuse they make, every mask they tape back onto their face, it all exposes them further. You didn't bury them, you just let them bury themselves, live on stage in front of everyone. And that humiliation, it's permanent. It's the only role they'll ever play now. The joke, the fool, the act that never lands. They thought they were running the show, but the truth, they were just the side act, and you were the whole damn main event. Now look at them spinning around, waving their arms, talking loud, and still getting nothing but silence back. That's not power. That's a meltdown in slow motion. It's embarrassing, it's desperate, and it's funny as HJL. Every move they make now is comedy. They try to flex, but the muscles are paper. They try to roast you, but burn themselves. They try to stage drama, but it plays out like a low-budget soap opera nobody watches. And the cruel twist, they can't stop. They're addicted to the performance, addicted to being seen, addicted to the attention that's not there anymore. Without you, they're actors rehearsing in an empty theater, loud, sweaty, pointless. That's why it hits so hard. You didn't have to drag them. You didn't need to clap back. You didn't need to lift a finger. You just walked out, and the whole thing collapsed. Now every fake laugh looks like panic. Every excuse sounds like begging. Every rumor reeks of obsession. They thought they made you the clown, but they ended up juggling their own lies in front of an audience that won't stop laughing at them. And the beauty, the more they try to save face, the worse it gets. They tape the mask back on, but it keeps slipping. They patch the costume, but the seams keep ripping. They shout louder, but the silence eats their voice whole. They're not feared, not respected, not even hated. They're laughed at, and being laughed at when you wanted control, that's the most twisted punishment of all. It is almost too easy now. You don't even have to say their name. People already know who the joke is. The minute they walk in the room, the air shifts. The whispers start. Not whispers of power, not whispers of respect. Whispers of, look at them trying again. That's humiliation you can't scrub off. It sticks like bad cologne, follows them everywhere they go. Reminds everyone of the night the circus folded. They're still out here swinging like they're enemies, puffing their chest, spitting recycled lines, trying to convince the world they're untouchable. But you can see the cracks. Everyone can. Their anger ain't scary. It's slapstick. Their chaos ain't a storm. It's a tantrum. Their strength is just a balloon with a slow leak, hissing in the corner while nobody bothers to look. That's what happens when the mask melts under silence. Everybody sees what's really underneath. And it ain't pretty. And here's where it gets twisted. Every rumor they spread, every jab they throw, every fake story they write, only makes the crowd laugh harder. They wanted to paint you as the clown, but they turn themselves into the punchline. They're juggling their own lies now. tripping over their own spotlight, trying to laugh loud enough to drown out the sound of silence and failing miserably. The funniest part, you don't even have to be there. You're not in the room, not in the script, not in the story. Yet somehow your absence has more presence than they do. That eats them alive. That's what keeps them up at night. Because the truth burns every time they think it. Without you, they're nothing but noise. And noise without ears is just embarrassment echoing back forever. You hear that? That's the sound of them choking on their own act. Every time they open their mouth, the lie slips before the line even lands. They thought they could rewrite history, but the script got soaked in their own tears. Now they're improvising, and it shows. Sweaty, shaky, desperate. That's not a performance. That's survival cosplay, and survival cosplay doesn't sell tickets. They strut like they're untouchable, but every step squeaks. Every pose looks like a parody. They used to scare people with their noise. Now their noise is comedy, like a fire alarm that goes off every 5 minutes for no reason. People stop taking it serious. They roll their eyes, shake their heads, laugh under their breath. And that laugh, that's the dagger. That's the echo they can't drown out. It's twisted, isn't it? The same silence they tried to weaponize against you has turned into their executioner. They wanted you begging, but now they're the ones begging shadows for applause. They wanted you embarrassed, but now embarrassment is tattooed across their forehead. They wanted you broken, but you walked out whole. And now they're the ones fractured, fumbling, unraveling in front of everyone. And the cruelest joke? You don't even have to lift a finger. They do it to themselves. Every tantrum is a roast. Every excuse is a punchline. Every attempt to drag your name drags them lower. They became the meme of their own downfall, the blooper reel of their own legacy. They aren't feared. They aren't respected. They're funny. And funny is forever. Look at them trying so hard to look unbothered. They might as well put calm on as a Halloween costume. But it doesn't fit. It never did. The mask is sliding. The sweat is dripping. And the more they force the smile, the more everyone sees the panic behind it. That's the punchline. They wanted to look powerful, but they look like a knockoff superhero whose cape got caught in the fan. Every rant they throw out is just proof. Proof they can't move on. Proof they can't let go. Proof you still haunt them without even trying. They're so desperate to paint you as the fool, they don't even notice they're juggling their own lies like rotten fruit. And the crowd, oh, the crowd loves it. Because nothing's funnier than watching somebody trip over their own performance. They thought silence would protect them. Instead, silence turned into their heckler. Every excuse they spit echoes back louder. Every fake laugh rings hollow. Every "I don't care" is so loud, it screams the opposite. That's not control, that's collapse, dressed up in glitter. And glitter doesn't hide cracks, it highlights them. Here's the twisted beauty. You don't need revenge. You don't need receipts. You don't need to expose anything.
They're exposing themselves every time they try to claw at your name.
They're not villains. They're not masterminds. They're bloopers on repeat. The blooper reel nobody asked for, but everybody laughs at. They're humiliated, and the humiliation has no off switch. That's the show now. And they're the star clown who doesn't know the circus left town. They wanted to be the puppet master, but without you, they're just a tangled mess of strings lying on the floor. Every move they make proves it. Jerky, awkward, desperate, like a bad marionette show nobody paid for. That's humiliation in motion, and it's hilarious. You can almost hear the crowd whisper, "This is the act. This is what we clapped for." The illusion's dead, and now all that's left is the joke. They tried to roast you, but the fire burned back. They wanted to bury you, but now they're knee-deep in their own dirt. They keep pointing at you like you're the villain, but the finger shakes, the voice cracks, the lie folds in on itself. Every rumor they spread is like a boomerang. It circles back and smacks them right in the face. That's karma with a sense of humor. The funniest part, they still think they've got the crowd fooled, still walking around like the mask isn't halfway melted off, still acting like the crown on their head isn't plastic from the dollar store. But everybody sees it. Every fake smile is a confession. Every loud performance is proof of fear. They're not kings, not queens, not rulers of chaos. They're jesters. And jesters don't control kingdoms. Jesters get laughed at until the laughter becomes legend. And here's where it gets twisted. This isn't even revenge. You didn't set the trap. You just walked away. They set the trap. They climbed inside, and then they tripped it on themselves. Now the whole world gets to watch them squirm, humiliated, exposed, unraveling on loop. That's not your destruction. That's their legacy, and it's funny, cruel, and permanent. They think fashion is fabric. They think it's tags, trends, hashtags. But you taught them that fashion is presence, it's aura. It's blood turned into velvet, scars turned into silk, silence pressed so sharp, it cuts like diamond. You don't follow seasons. You are the season. Every time you walk in, the room shifts, the air bends, the ground feels different. That's not style. It's supremacy stitched into your veins. Being psycho is a fashion statement because it's the one thing they can't fake. They can buy followers, buy watches, buy status, but they can't buy chaos that survived the fire. They can't order your grin off a website. They can't mimic your stride because their bones never learned to dance with pain the way yours did. You wear what they fear, and it looks good on you. And isn't it hilarious? They whisper behind your back, but every one of them secretly envies the fit. They see the way heads turn, the way energy shifts, the way silence becomes a spotlight when you move. They want the look, but not the life. They want the psycho drip without paying the psycho price. They want the glory without the grind, the power without the pain, the crown without the crucifixion. But the truth is madness doesn't sell in stores. It isn't stitched in sweatshops. It's born in firestorms. It's carved in bone. It's whispered into your skull at midnight when the world thought you were finished. And when you showed back up, every step was couture. Every scar a runway piece. Every laugh a headline they'll never stop reading. Because when psycho becomes fashion, every room is a stage. Every doubter is an unpaid fan. And every breath you take is a limited edition drop they'll never get their hands on. They're out here dressing in knockoff courage, stitched together with cheap lies, spraying on cologne made of insecurity, hoping no one smells the fear. Meanwhile, you're rocking scars like Gucci, trauma like Prada, silence like Louis V. You didn't buy your look, you bled for it. That's the difference. That's why they stare. That's why they whisper. That's why they flinch when you laugh. Being psycho is a fashion statement because it's the only drip they can't copy. You can't order this on Amazon. You can't swipe it on a clearance rack. Madness doesn't come in medium or large. It comes in fire and steel. It comes in sleepless nights and a smile that shouldn't exist, but does. It's rare, It's exclusive. It's luxury chaos. And it's funny, isn't it? They tried to clown you, tried to paint you as unhinged, but now they're sneaking notes, trying to steal the look. They want your grin, your glow, your don't give a DMN walk. But they can't, because their version would fall apart in the rain. Yours was waterproofed by HHL. You walk into a room and suddenly their $3,000 suits look like plastic tablecloths. Their fake smiles look like Party City masks. You don't even have to speak. The silence drips louder than their whole orchestra of approval. That's fashion. That's psycho couture, turning stillness into the loudest flex in the building. And that's why you'll always win, because trends fade, masks crack, fakes get exposed. But psycho is eternal. It's stitched in your bones. And baby, it looks better on you than any crown ever could. You know why they hate the word freak? Because it means you don't fit. And not fitting scares the HL out of people who only know how to survive by blending in. They wore conformity like a uniform, begged for applause like starving dogs, and mocked anything that didn't move like them. But freaks don't bow, freaks don't blend, freaks bend reality until it cracks, then walk through the fracture smiling. They thought the maniac was dangerous because of rage. But rage is predictable. Rage is safe. No, the real danger is clarity. That stillness in your eyes that says, I see through all of you. The maniac doesn't explode. The maniac evolves. Every scar turned into scripture. Every failure sharpened into fangs. Every quiet moment brewing into thunder. By the time they notice, it's too late. The storm already has their name carved into its winds. And isn't it funny? They once laughed at the freak in the corner, the one they thought would never matter. But now their whole world revolves around you. They stalk, they whisper, they obsess. They shake at shadows, mistaking their own paranoia for your footsteps. You don't even have to be there anymore. Your presence lingers like smoke after a fire. Proof the maniac passed through and nothing will ever be the same again. They thought you'd beg for a seat at their table. You built your own, and now they're clawing to sit at yours. They thought calling you a freak would sting. It didn't sting. It crowned you. Because freaks don't just survive the fire. They come back carrying it, grinning, daring anyone to touch the flames. And the maniacs, we don't need acceptance. We don't need forgiveness. We don't even need to be understood. We need only one thing, to be undeniable. So let them choke on their laughter. Let them drown in their silence. Because the freak they dismissed, the maniac they underestimated, has become the storm they'll never outrun. And the punchline, it's still ringing. That laugh, that grin, that truth they can't unhear, can't unsee, can't escape. Normal, that's the dirtiest word in the whole dictionary. Normal is beige walls, normal is dead eyes, normal is choking down the same poison every day and calling it routine. That's what they wanted for you. To play along, to keep quiet, to rot politely in the corner of their stage play. But freaks don't rot. Freaks crack the stage in half, turn the lights off and make the audience scream in the dark. And maniacs, oh, maniacs are even worse. We don't follow the plot. We don't read the script. We eat the damn script and spit out fire. We laugh while everyone else is praying for order. Because order is a cage, and cages were never built for us. Maniacs don't need permission. Maniacs don't wait for applause. We are the applause, thunder in human skin. Proof that freedom isn't polite. It's loud, it's sharp, it's unhinged, and unforgettable. You see, freaks aren't born to blend in. Freaks are born to expose, to hold up a mirror so clean, so cruel, that the whole room sees exactly what it's been hiding from. That's why they hate us. That's why they fear us. Because when the freak walks in, everyone's mask starts slipping. And when the maniac starts laughing, everyone realizes they were the real joke all along. Look at them now, shaking hands, fake smiles, pretending they're not haunted by you. But their silence betrays them. Their eyes betray them. You've become their ghost, a living reminder that you can't bury what refuses to die. They thought you'd break. You didn't. You bent reality until it snapped, and now they live in the wreckage forever, choking on the smoke of bridges they burned. And the best part, you don't even need revenge. You don't even need closure, because every breath you take, every grin you flash, every step you make forward is already the punishment. They'll never catch up. They'll never catch on. They'll just sit there watching the freak they mocked, the maniac they underestimated, carve their name into history with a laugh sharp enough to slice through eternity. Every time they open their mouth, they give the game away. It's all there. The twitch, the crack, the way their voice climbs just a little too high. They think they're fooling people, but the act is see-through now, and nothing's crueler than being seen for what you really are when you spend your whole life pretending. That's why they can't stand it. That's why they're embarrassed. Every time your silence echoes louder than their noise. They wanted you trapped, begging for the spotlight they controlled. Instead, you left, and now the spotlight won't leave them. It follows them everywhere, exposing every fake smile, every half-baked scheme, every desperate lunge for relevance. They're trying to play chess without a board, flex power without an audience, deliver speeches to an empty room. And it's comedy, dark comedy, the kind people can't stop watching. Not because it's impressive, but because it's embarrassing. The harder they try, the worse it gets. Every rumor makes them sound obsessed. Every jab makes them look weak. Every "I don't care" is so loud it screams the opposite. They don't see it yet, but the crowd does. The more they fight the silence, the more the silence wins. You don't have to speak, don't have to move, don't have to prove. Their own noise does all the work for you. They're unraveling, and everyone knows it. And here's the punchline. They built their identity on breaking you, but they broke themselves trying. That's the tragedy. That's the comedy. That's the twist nobody saw coming. They thought they'd write you out of the script, but now the only script they've got left is their own humiliation, looping night after night, spotlight stuck, curtain jammed, audience laughing. And that laughter, it never ends. They never saw it coming, did they? The quiet one, the strange one, the so-called freak. They pointed, they laughed, they labeled. They built their kingdoms of noise, mistaking their echo chambers for empires. But while they were busy performing for each other, you were in the shadows, listening, growing, coiling. They thought you were asleep. You were evolving. And now the freak is the storm. Now the maniac is the main event. You didn't flip the script. You burned it. You didn't play their game. You became the board, the dice, the dealer, the odds, all of it. They thought they could shrink you down with names. But those names became your armor. Every insult a medal, every sneer a stepping stone. Every time they called you a freak, they wrote the prophecy they're now choking on. You see it in their faces, the way they swallow hard when you enter the room, the way their eyes dart, searching for exits that don't exist. They thought you'd come back bitter, loud, predictable, but that would have been too easy, too merciful. Instead, you came back laughing, not the laugh of a clown, but but the laugh of a maniac who finally realized they don't need anyone's stage, anyone's approval, anyone's applause, and God. It eats them alive because they can't figure it out. They can't explain you. You're not angry. You're not broken. You're not begging. You're glowing like something feral wrapped in skin, like truth with teeth, and they can't stand it. They can't name it. So they whisper freak, like maybe the word will cut you down. But all it does is remind them freaks don't break. Freaks remake the world in their own image. And the maniac doesn't ask for permission. The maniac laughs in the silence they mistook for surrender. And that laugh, that's the sound of freedom. That's the sound that keeps them awake at night, staring at ceilings, praying to gods who won't answer because the gods they worshipped. Glass, and you were the hammer hiding in plain sight. So let them choke, let them whisper, let them tremble every time they think they hear your laugh in the distance. Because the freak they mocked, the maniac they underestimated, is the only truth left standing.